It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. Lots to talk about, including that $5 offer from Amazon for unlimited storage. Is that an alternative to OneDrive's former deal? A look at the future of HoloLens. They're tweeting. And the latest for Windows Phone. When do we get a Surface Phone? It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 442, recorded Wednesday, December 2nd, 2015. A bridge too far. Windows Weekly is brought to you by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/windows. That's lynda.com/windows. And by audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/windows. And by Harry's. For guys who want a great shave experience for a fraction of what you're paying now, go to harrys.com. Get $5 off your first purchase by entering the code WINDOWS when you check out. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with Mr. Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com, Ms. Mary Jo Foley of AllAboutMicrosoft.com, two of the preeminent Windows journalists. And you know that Paul's a Windows journalist because right behind him it says Working Press.
Yep. I've got a sign stolen from the streets of Paris and one stolen from a Microsoft press event. Those are the things that matter to me.
Light-fingered Thurrott. Wow.
What's the Paris one say?
It's like a street sign. I actually bought it on eBay. I'm sure it was legally obtained.
Oh, yeah, I bought it on eBay. Your Honor, I bought it on eBay. Yeah, that's the new excuse, yeah. Your Honor. But it was on eBay.
I cannot confirm or deny that it is in fact real.
And now we're all looking at Paul's hair and thinking, gosh, was it only a year ago that he had shaved it all off?
You might say I'm due for a haircut.
You're a little shaggy. But it's good. You know, those of us with hair, and all three of us do have it, should flaunt it.
Sure.
So many are hirsute challenged. Yeah, hairless.
Challenged.
Let's see. Well, first of all, Mary Jo, we missed you last week. We ended up doing like pretty much all Xbox the whole show.
Yep.
I heard.
Yeah. Oh,
I heard
they were
from
tweeting
fans.
you saying, "Come back, Mary Jo."
They
Come
She was
back."
probably on a train somewhere in Connecticut, and she got like a shiver up her back. It was us talking about Xbox.
Well, you'll be glad to know I found my dog. So that's really pretty much the summary of the whole show. And I don't mean, folks, my actual human dog.
Okay.
I mean my.
We also talked about the moral implications of trading in a dog for, let me see if I get this right, a robot that spits fire out of its butt.
Yeah. Chet Codsworth is his name. Codsworth the robot, or Dog Meet the Dog. This is.
Yep.
I'm sorry I missed this episode.
I know.
It was a weighty episode.
Weighty episode. A weighty episode. So let's move on from that. Did you Paul gave us some kind of his take on the trip to.
And Leah, sorry, I'm interrupting, but I will also point out I told two Mary Jo Foley stories from the trip.
Did you?
Did you tell her that?
No, this is my surprise to her now, in case she didn't hear about it.
I did not.
One was the time that Mary Jo got cut off from getting on the train.
And she's looking at Paul going, come on.
She's like,
come on.
I won't recreate the gesture I made when I was.
Did you flip him off?
Did you? No.
Flipped off someone else who was the reason I missed the train.
But Paul tells me he was the gentleman and waited at the next station for
He did. Yeah.
And I reminded him that actually I didn't know where I was going and I needed her to find that place. But yes, of course, I'm not going to abandon Mary Jo in the middle of one.
Never second guess the reasons behind being chivalrous.
Yes.
Maybe Sir Walter Scott he didn't like that coat and he just wanted it to get muddy. And that's just these things, you got to take them at face value. What was the other
what
story?
the other story
Oh,
was.
what was it, Mary Jo?
Oh, the
Was
other
it the
story
drunk
was
cowboys?
the incredible last night of drinking that I probably would have
that
slept
one.
through if my wife hadn't woken me up.
Now,
But
wait a
then,
minute, wait a minute, Paul. You missed this. She's
I'm
given
sorry.
you another story that we haven't told about her.
Oh, what was that?
Cowboys?
No, I said, was it the drunk cowboys?
Oh, the drunk cowboys. I thought Mary Jo was. That's true. I forgot about that one. I thought Mary Jo was going to stand up and punch somebody in this bar. There was, they have these things are beyond my generation, but these days people have like parties for, people getting married, right? So obviously, I had like a stag party of a sort or whatever you call it, but a bachelor party. But now what they do is they dress up and they go out and they bar crawl and stuff, and they act like idiots. And this guy had like a funnel, right? Like, oh no, he had a beer watch.
He did. He had a beer funnel.
So you could.
That should have been our
drink.
first clue about what was happening.
Funnel.
That was so stupid.
Was the idea that
they all had cowboy hats on?
Did it look anything like my beer horn?
It might.
No, it was Leo.
horn?
No, Leo. This was not a classy beer funnel
No.
You think this is classy?
compared to this guy.
A beer horn?
How does that work?
It
Is
could
there
be
a
anything.
Yeah.
It's a hands-free has a hands-free neck strap. Holds 24 ounces of whatever beverage you'd like to put in there. It's called Das Horn.
My father used to ski with what I used to call a bladder, and he would put it in his jacket,
Yeah.
and it had like a little hose,
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you need when you're out in the slopes and you just what is it? There was whiskey.
By the way, this has, and I think there may be a lawsuit here, Uber capacity.
Nice.
Ooh.
Uber.
I don't think Uber owns the word Uber.
Well, they might beg to differ. They might
How about
say,
Metro,
If Uber
Paul?
comes out with a
Metro.
drinking device, that would be contrary to their. Well, maybe it wouldn't. But,
introducing the new Microsoft Uber Drive.
Yeah.
right.
You know that, and Ed Bott wrote about this a little bit. Amazon's offering unlimited cloud storage for $5 a year for its Black Friday.
We actually have that in our.
Okay, we'll get to it. We'll get to it
Yeah.
because I bought it, and I'm transferring
I
everything.
already
over.
had it.
Yeah, I guess
already have it.
I guess I might have already had it.
I mean, I went to buy it and I was like, I already have this thing. I don't even know how. But
Nice.
that's Amazon, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have stuff you don't even know.
sure.
That's Amazon.
Yep.
There's the story in a nutshell.
Just make sure your credit card's up to date. That's all we ask.
So you had a nice Thanksgiving, Mary Jo, and Paul was pretty jet lagged last week, I got to say.
Oh, man. I was so destroyed last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did a lot of traveling. And then right after that, I had to get on another train and go to Rhode Island to see my relatives at Thanksgiving. So, yeah,
That's good.
a lot of running around.
That's good. Did you have
London
a
was awesome.
tofurkey?
No, I made a lentil stuffed squash.
Oh, yum.
It was really good, actually.
Well, I've gone mostly vegetarian now as a part of my new
Have you
diet
really?
and exercise regime. Well,
You should adopt my daughter, Mary Jo.
technically
I
vegan.
should.
Technically
Someone has to
vegan.
save her from the.
Oh no, she handles herself. My brother came over and said, you're a vegetarian, so what are you going to eat tomorrow? Whatever. And I said, I think my reply to him for her was a plant of some kind.
As Chris Rock said,
It's so un-American.
I'm not a vegetarian because I love animals. I'm a vegetarian because I hate plants.
Nice.
I think I've told that joke here before, but that's okay because if you haven't heard it, it's new to you.
I told my daughter, she's young enough that within her lifetime, scientists will discover
Right.
that plants feel pain. And then what are you going to eat?
And what are you going to eat? And any other fond memories of England, Mary Jo, you want to share, and the lovely Mancunians?
No, we had a really great trip. I think it
seemed
went
like it.
really
I
well.
liked them. They laughed
Yeah.
at my jokes.
They were a fantastic
Vancouverans.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say
We-
that at the
we
end of
would
the
love to
show?
go again.
You've been a fantastic audience.
I should have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really work the crowd that way, Leo.
You should have seen the crowd at the last Windows Weekly. You've been fantastic.
Well, you should tell you. I mean, do you have anything from the? We had the big meetup, obviously. I didn't want to, I talked about it last week, but I wanted to make sure that if you had anything to.
Well, it was just nice that Mary Jo brought you, because it turns, I didn't know this, but you were invited, Mary Jo, and Paul just tagged along.
I'm right. I literally crawled into her luggage.
It was great. And the meetup was great. I think we had close to 100 or maybe even more than 100 people.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You guys are a big draw. You really are.
We're so exciting.
I think Steve Wynn should sign you for his next casino.
Wow.
Appearing nightly, Paul and Mary Jo.
Maybe like Celine Dion could open up for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of people brought beer for us.
Oh, boy.
Get to taste a few of those.
It's like when the Beatles said they like Jelly Bellies.
Yeah, everybody brought them. Right?
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we outdrew Charlie Watts that night.
We did.
Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones. Charlie Watts.
Yeah, he was also at the bar.
What?
He was.
Yeah.
Yep.
What?
It was funny. He walked in,
What?
and everybody at our meetup saw him, and they're like, "Oh, there's Charlie Watts."
Oh, there's Charlie.
Okay, so how about SharePoint, you guys?
Yeah, they didn't
I
leave.
was like, okay.
Nobody left.
No one left.
Was Charlie Watts having a meetup?
No.
Or is he just there to
Charlie
drink?
Watts has a meetup anytime he goes out, Leo.
Yeah,
That's
he's
just,
Charlie Watts.
I think he was there
Charlie
to
Watts.
drink upstairs. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but no one left our meetup. They were like, "Oh yeah, there he is."
Well, Camden is kind of rock and roll.
Yeah.
The place we went was very heavy metal headbanger.
Yeah, so I heard. Yeah. All right, let's. I've got my OneNote fired up, and I see that you want to talk about the Lumia 950. Did you both bring Lumia 950s on the trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only could use.
And I
mine
already
on
talked about it.
Wi-Fi.
So you should do your.
Yeah, we saw Paul's pictures. They looked great.
Yeah, the pictures are good. I think I mentioned I've been having some trouble. I'm getting the hello to work like about half the time, I'd say.
Yeah.
Paul talked about the fact that you have to kind of like
You have to kind of go like
farther. Yeah. That's no
but
fun.
I like the phone. I like that it's light. Being an Icon user, I appreciate the weight of this phone.
It's lighter than the Icon.
Much lighter.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice, really nice resolution on the screen. If you haven't seen it, people who've seen me looking at Twitter on the screen are like, "Wow, what are you using right now?"
Wow.
It's
Nice.
amazing. Yep.
That's good.
It's nice. It's a nice phone. So far, still only on AT&T, and there's been some reports this week about Verizon saying that it's because of Microsoft that they
Of course, I would say.
don't have the phone.
I would just
Microsoft-
remind everyone that Verizon is evil incarnate, and of course they would say that.
Yeah.
They said
not my fault, man.
it's up to Microsoft to authorize the phones on Verizon, and I think
Interesting.
I've heard other people saying it's up to Verizon to authorize the phones. So I don't really know.
Well, maybe it's both.
Maybe it's both.
The net result is it's not on Verizon, I think.
Right.
I mean,
Doesn't
the
work
Y
on
stuff is
Verizon.
kind of interesting.
You cannot take a SIM, a Verizon SIM, and put it in. People have tried this; it does not work, and we don't think it ever will.
So you just were using somebody else's SIM. Sort of.
They gave me a loaner SIM for the device that because I didn't have an AT&T SIM. Yep, but
Okay.
I'm so far thinking it's not enough of a phone for me to switch from Verizon to
Yeah,
AT&T.
switch carriers.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Just light is not enough. You need more than that.
it's like the camera's as good as my Icon. I wouldn't say it's substantially better. It feels about the same. The resolution is great. If this phone were on Verizon, I would move to it,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. I still haven't seen a 950 XL in the wild. Have you, Paul? I know people have bought them. I have not bought one.
Oh, we were talking about the
I've seen-
950 here.
Yeah.
So it's the
But
smaller
XL is
screen.
out now too.
The 5.2-inch, phone, as opposed to a phablet.
Well, it's 5.7 for the
5.7, yeah.
I like
I
that
like a bigger
size.
phone,
I
so-
do too.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Well, we all agree.
Yep. But yeah, that was my observation on the 950. I think it's a good phone, but not enough to make me switch carriers.
All right.
So the headline here is Mary Jo Foley: too little, too late.
Yeah.
No.
No. The headline is damn you, Verizon. Did you do a sway of England or anything?
Oh, no.
No, I did. I actually, when I made my presentation at the Stacked event, I made it in the form of a sway.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I tried it just to see how it was. It was
How did that
actually
work?
better for me because I use PowerPoint very seldom, so I never remember how to really use it well.
Unless you use it every day or whatever, frequently.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like golfing.
So for me, a sway was easier.
Yeah. It's a good walk ruined. No, that's a different thing. That's another thing.
Nice.
Yeah. But I didn't make a trip sway. Did you, Paul?
I've been wrecked since I've been home. I literally, today is kind of the first day that I sort of feel normal.
Yeah.
I've been sick since I got back.
Oh, wow. Have you?
So, no, I'll think about doing that. That's not a bad idea.
Although I think if we use our trip pictures, many of them will be beer pictures.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was like Beerapalooza.
It was. Yeah.
I don't want to say you guys are alcoholics or anything, but there was one day where the plan and the implementation of that plan was to go through every brewery on this, couple of mile long hike.
Yeah.
And like, not me, but these other people, I don't want to name names, Mary Jo and some others, went to 2 bars before this and then went to a bar after it and then wanted to go to another bar. And I was like, guys, enough. Like,
you're a wild woman.
No, I think I am good at tasting beers and not guzzling beers.
Oh, so yeah, I did the same. I was drinking very small amounts of beer trying to pace myself. And like I said on the
trying to keep up with Mary Jo, let's be frank.
My wife got off of a plane, ditched her bags, went on this thing with us, and she was ready to go out drinking. And I'm like, seriously, what is wrong with all of you?
Yep. Yeah. No, it was fun.
I'm like, I'm just going to go to sleep.
If you ever go to London and you want to do this brewery crawl, it's called the Bermondsey Beer Mile. And there's maps of it online, and it's a whole bunch of different breweries.
And it's all these great breweries that are just like really...
Yeah, a lot of them were really good.
Yeah.
They were.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where we ran into the drunk cowboys.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They were doing the beer crawl.
In what looked like a World War II era bomb shelter.
What?
Converted into a brewery.
So this is like a well-known crawl. Like people come to London just to do this thing.
I'm pretty sure those guys were doing this crawl.
They were doing it.
That's neat.
And by the way, speaking of lightweights, that's embarrassing.
Oh, really? They kind of fell over?
Oh, they
one
fell
of them
Mary Jo
literally.
8 times. I thought she was going to stand up and just punch somebody. And I kept saying, Mary Jo, please move. Just move.
You guys don't know how to drink.
No, they were just. I think they were at the end of their beer crawl. And
that guy he went out of there, I believe, horizontal.
Oh my God.
He did.
He was not in good shape.
Oh, that's not.
No,
don't do that to yourself or to people around you. Or.
No.
This is where the savvy veteran thing kicks in.
Yeah,
that's not.
Mary Jo's a wily veteran.
It's like the bug that turns into a ball.
Yeah,
I would just fall asleep.
The dung beetle. Yeah.
I almost did that at the meetup. I'm just in the corner like.
Paul doesn't like people.
This is more people than I normally see.
People put him to sleep. I think Charlie Watts was upstairs napping as well.
Sure.
He was
sucking up my life force. That's how he's built.
That's how he stays alive. No, that's Keith Richards. I'm sorry.
I'm sure it's all of them.
All right. It's December. Woohoo. And we've all grown tired of the November update. So
it's so November.
It's so November. So last month. So, I mean, Patch Tuesday's not till Tuesday, but are we going to see anything besides that? Are we going to see... I mean,
that's what I'm asking.
I'm
what do you think,
craving
Rachel?
a firmware update, aren't you?
Well, I remember last year they didn't do any more insider previews in December, right? Didn't they stop?
No, but then they remember they had I think they had to fix one, if I'm not mistaken. And the uproar was that they threw out something really garbagey in November.
Oh, right.
Yes.
You know,
right.
and then it was like, well, we'll see you again in January. And it was like, guys, hold on a second.
Right.
Come back.
Yeah. I haven't heard if they're going to do more previews this month or not, mobile or PC. I haven't heard.
Right.
So far, nothing this week. No hints from Gabe.
But we did get our Windows 10 phone update that's pretty close to the final, right? I mean,
that is the final.
That's the final. We got the November update. I mean,
But you talk to people about this stuff, and what they'll tell you is that the build that shipped on the 950 and the 950 XL and the build that shipped out to insiders is really buggy, and that it needs to be updated, and that letting a month and a half or whatever it is go by is really not such a great idea.
yeah.
And so we'll see. I mean, I'm in my own passive aggressive way. I'm trying to goad Microsoft into actually, maybe showing up to work this week and I don't know, shipping a build or something. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this month came and went without a build.
I'm a little disappointed because the updates didn't fix my Chrome pointer goes missing.
Yeah, you're still having that, right?
Problem.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
I thought maybe either Google or Microsoft would fix that. It's just the Surface Book?
I'm not sure about with Chrome specifically, but with
I think it's also on Surface
Let me try it on
Pro.
my Dell.
Surface Pro, I think, is having
Surface
that.
Pro 4.
Yeah, and 3 maybe?
Oh, and 3, really?
I can't remember now. I've seen different reports about this, but I know on Surface Book it still does happen occasionally.
Yeah, I was just noticing it because I was trying to surf the net to find these pub crawl. Yeah, no, it's doing it on my Dell too.
Is it really?
Oh no, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I see it.
I mean, I use
no,
Chrome.
so it is. It's a. You know what? It is specific to the
Surface
at least
Book?
to my Surface Book. It's it's not happening on the Dell.
Interesting.
But Dell has probably a different mouse driver, right? It's probably using its mouse drivers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
It seems to only happen intermittently, right? It's not always going missing.
Oh,
to me.
That's what makes it fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting it on my my Surface Book. Maybe it noticed that the Dell was doing it and said, "All right."
I think it noticed you were talking about it.
Yeah. You mean me? Well, I did update Chrome too, so maybe that fixed it. I don't know. Or maybe it's intermittent, as you say.
Yeah.
It's
Or
frustrating.
maybe technology isn't the science that we think it is, and it is in fact black magic.
Maybe this stuff just, who knows if it's going to work? Who
Yep,
knows?
this is alien technology. We had no business doing this.
Yeah. We found it under a bush.
Yep.
Yeah, I am curious if we're going to see a new build because I've seen some people on some of the sites where they try to get leaked builds talking about hints that they've seen Redstone in the code names now of builds that are
Right.
post RTM build. But I wonder if we'll get that built this year. What makes me think we might is Microsoft hinted that they would do enterprise data protection preview and also the browser extension previews this year for insiders. So that makes me think there might be at least one more build this year.
You know what else they said they were going to do this year?
What?
Many
Fix
things. but
OneDrive.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
well-
it still kind of funky?
We still have December. A few more weeks.
Okay. That's true. It's only the second.
Right. They did say the new sync engine, the common sync engine would be out in Q4, right? For OneDrive, consumer and business. So we don't have that yet. It's in preview, though.
True.
Okay.
So I'm betting maybe at least one more build. Let's see.
All right.
Maybe they're going to make it a Christmas present for us, just like that Apple commercial we did. Did you see that one, Leo?
Yeah, that was a Christmas present.
It
The
was.
Stevie Wonder and Andra Day. We talked about it on MacBreak Weekly yesterday. It was...
The one with the Christmas carols? That one?
Yeah,
No,
the
no,
Stevie
no,
Wonder
no, no.
singing a song.
Talking about
Oh,
different
you're
ads.
talking about, we also talked about that one. The
You did?
Microsoft ad, where all the Microsoft employees at the Fifth Avenue store start singing. They file out of the store. They go across the street to the Apple store and sing a Christmas carol to them.
Yeah.
And the Apple employees all come out in their little red shirts.
Right. And while that's happening, someone is robbing the store blind.
Perfect.
I think what I would have appreciated more would have been like a Monty Python-esque thing where the Microsoft store comes up against the Apple store.
Yeah.
And then they swing over on, ropes and stuff and just kind of lay assault to it.
So do you think, we were asking, do you think that Microsoft had to get permission from Apple? I think they did.
So Apple
They did.
okay it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. There was an Ad Age
Yeah.
story today saying that Apple had to okay it.
Yeah, because they use the Apple trademark. And Apple employees obviously had to be involved.
Yeah. But what
It's a
Ad
sweet
Age said
ad.
was they said they told Apple they wanted to do something outside their store, but they didn't tell them what.
Oh.
And then they
So we're in the Microsoft store, the new one that just opened. And then all the employees put on their Microsoft green outfits with the blue hats. And this is November 16th, so it's a little early. They walk across the street. And actually, what you don't know behind the scenes is it's 84 degrees in New York.
exactly.
And they all...
Is it really?
No, I'm just kidding.
They
all-
could have been. I mean,
They're sweating like stuck pigs. They have little candles, and there's the backwards. Notice, by the way, that was a backwards Apple logo, not a forwards Apple logo.
Oh.
So they're asking for peace in the 100-year war between Microsoft and Apple.
yes.
Actually, Satya Nadella probably put them up to this, right? Because isn't he?
Well, we know it wasn't Mark Penn.
And they're in a bunch of actors pretending to be Apple employees come out of the Apple store. I
like that they're all red shirts, like in Star Trek.
But they are red shirts in the Apple store. That's their new look.
Yep.
So, and they do have the Apple logo on their shirts, so maybe they are. This is kind of cute. It's amazing, though. One of the things I came away with this is how well Microsoft employees sing.
Yep.
They're really
Yeah, it wasn't really them.
harmony and
Yeah.
listen to that. That's just beautiful. And they have little children working there too, apparently.
Yep.
There's the Empire State Building, lit up in red and green. Oh
I like that kids were singing along. I've never heard this song in my life.
no, the kids all know it though. Spread harmony,
Yeah.
says the ad. So I guess that's cute. That's really cute.
Yeah.
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 I like that.
I mean, screw those guys, but that was cute.
It's you know what? I think it's really interesting strategy.
Sure. Killing them with kindness.
Killing them with kindness instead of hating them and all that. I think it's cute. I like the ad.
I just approve. But I see what you're saying. It's nice.
Yeah, you always wanted Microsoft to go for the jugular with that.
Yeah. Let's break some glass.
Go get them. Go get them, buddy.
You know?
buddy. No, it's YouTube. You know how YouTube is. They've segued into something else, and I'm watching that video instead of doing the show.
Sure.
so-
Like a Jurassic World preview or something.
Yeah, I can't. I'm
An
trying to
Orangina ad.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if it's an ad or a little 60-second soap opera drama. But anyway, let's take
So you're watching one of the Latin TV shows.
Yes. telenovela.
Yeah.
Let's take a break from that ad to do an ad. What do you think?
Sure.
Still going on, whatever it is. It seems like there's a Thanksgiving dinner involved, and there's somebody, an old man, and there's all sorts of. They're crying, and if this is a Microsoft ad, I'm just going to weep.
Oh no, isn't that?
I don't know what it is. Is it maybe
I don't
Isn't
recognize
that
this
British
at all.
ad?
live action version of Up? I think. I don't know.
I literally go into a mini coma when there are advertisements on TV, so
I
I
know.
don't actually see most of
You
the
know
stuff.
what? I resent them. So I actually,
Yeah.
it's the same thing on websites.
So, I mean, it's a weekly occurrence at my house where my wife will make fun of something in a commercial, and I'll say, "What are you talking about?" And she says, "We just watched it." And I'm like, "No,
This must be a
It plays out.
Czechoslovakian ad because it's for something called Idika, which I don't think we have in the free world. So it was looked like a good Idika ad. I'm sorry.
their version of IKEA."
Making friends everywhere. That's me. We'll be back with more of Paul, Mary Jo, and that jerk who hosts the show with them. But first, a word from lynda.com. Okay, Linda. I love lynda.com. If you are a curious person, and I don't mean a person who is curious, like weird looking. I mean curious like you have an interest in things and learning things, and you will love lynda.com. Yeah, even if you're weird looking, you might like lynda.com. It is a fantastic place to get up to date on all the latest technologies. If you're interested in photography, which I am, I do a lot of Lynda courses there on Photoshop and composition. They've got Photoshop Creative Cloud Essential Training. just updated. Photoshop for photographers, the 2015 Creative Cloud. They've got updates. They've also got advanced courses. Performance tuning your Canon digital SLR. That's a different thing. Lightroom insider trading. Oh, I should really put my glasses on. Insider training. And series like Photo Tools Weekly, Burt Monroy's Pixel Playground. I love that. I mean, you're learning Photoshop from the smartest Photoshop wizard ever. And the DIY Photographer, which teaches you low-cost tricks and techniques to improve your photos. Lynda.com. I look at what they've got, and I just think, I'm going to take a day off and just spend time studying up, reading up. Just fantastic things. If you go to lynda.com right now, /Windows, you can sign up for a free 10-day trial. Take all the courses you want for the next 10 days. You can take a whole course or sample little bits of each course. You know, it's easy to do because they have transcripts that let you search right into the courses. So you can, for photographing the wintry coast of New Zealand. Wow. iPhone and iOS photography. I bet they, I don't know what, we should see if they have a Windows phone. Probably not. I'm thinking not. But we've got everything else. Look at all the Windows stuff. Up and running with Office Mobile for Windows 10. Here's one for you, Mary Jo Foley. Configuring Windows Server with Hyper-V. In fact, I bet you they have a lot of Hyper-V courses. Let's see. Hyper-V. Configuring Windows Server 2012 R2 Hyper-V with Timothy Pintello. And this is not just of 10 minutes. This is a full course. Everything you need to know. Creating and configuring virtual machine storage. Configuring and managing Hyper-V in Server 2012. Introducing virtualization. I've taken the PowerShell courses. I'm really kind of thrilled with all the things I can do with PowerShell. Up and running with PowerShell integrated scripting. Up and running with PowerShell 5. PowerShell Web Access. PowerShell Drill Bits. PowerShell for administrators. Lynda.com. Try it free for 10 days. lynda.com/Windows. I think you'll like it. I know you will. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We're talking Windows on Windows Weekly. I'm excited about HoloLens, and I guess there's something going on there. What's the latest with HoloLens?
Yeah, Microsoft's really starting to turn up the hype on HoloLens now.
Well,
you should check this out, though.
The hype.
But you should check out some of these home videos because I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah.
So if you look on Twitter for the hashtag Made with HoloLens, you're going to start to see a bunch of home videos that Microsoft employees have been authorized to put up with links to YouTube videos that show.
You don't usually think of HoloLens being something you make things with. So what are they doing? Is there a camera in it?
Well, so I don't know how I'm actually curious how they produce these videos. But one shows like a mime that's a character, like a hologram walking along a keyboard. Another one has his daughter, a guy's daughter, holding the solar system in her hands while it rotates around. There are a few different ones up there now.
So these are of people using HoloLens.
Right. And obviously authorized to post these videos, but
there must be some technique for
showing them, right?
Showing what they're seeing in the HoloLens, right?
Well, remember it's Windows 10, right? So there's screen recording capabilities built into the OS. I'm sure
but it's also their view, right? It's not just what the HoloLens is showing.
Well, yeah, no, I'm sure it's mixing it with the webcam view or whatever.
Oh, I see.
I just want to be clear, though. Drastically overstates how much you see it.
Yeah, because I'm a full screen on this, but I wouldn't be seeing that much. Well, that's more like it, though, right? What I'm seeing right there.
Yeah, sure.
So, and
the problem is when it's really big like that, it's not. That's not. And the other issue is this video is only showing one thing. I mean, some of these videos will show you, them with like auxiliary displays on the side and things, and that's you really don't see it like that.
This is meta. He's showing the HoloLens promo video in his HoloLens.
Yep.
I assume that was Alex Kipman.
It was.
So these are okay. So that's interesting that there's a hashtag.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, there's a hashtag. They're posting up all these different
Here's a guy
snippets.
streaming.
I'd like to offer my HoloLens alternative.
He's got Google Cardboard. Here's a guy
Cardboard,
playing
nice.
Halo. He says this is
Right, so it's
approximately...
Halo streaming on the screen that you can project from a HoloLens, right?
You can stream to Windows 10. So
Streaming
Yeah.
from
Makes
my
sense to
Xbox
this.
One to my HoloLens. Okay. And he says this is approximately 90% of my HoloLens usage at home.
yep, it's well worth the $3,500.
Whoa. My daughter says Microsurf 2005. Now my daughter lives in a world of holograms thanks to our work on HoloLens. And then she links to a Flipboard article, which I can't open. So there you go. That's a good one. Here's a kid. Well, that's interesting. Here's a kid, and there's a ballerina on her table. So
All this time, though, she can't see that ballerina. Now she can.
Oh.
Now she can't.
no, she can't because only
Now she
Daddy
can't.
can see the creepy.
Only
ballerina.
Daddy can see it, right? But I'm just saying, the problem with this technology is if it's not directly in your field of vision,
Yeah.
you can't see it. And if it's too big, it's cut off.
But she couldn't be looking at it because she's not wearing it.
That's true.
So Daddy's
Right.
saying, look at that spot on the table, and then I'll put you in a video.
Yeah. If only it looked like this.
It was so great.
Kind
of the Mattel Viewmaster. That's kind of what that looks like, actually. So that's the augmented reality feature. Oh, this is cool. All right, you ready for one here? This is really cool. This is, that game where you take a baby and you want to figure out what they're going to be when they grow up, and you put like a dollar bill and a spoon and,
No.
and a hat. You don't know that game?
You put like a diploma in one
Yeah.
corner and a wrench.
A plumber's helper.
Plumbers,
Yeah. So apparently, I don't know what they're doing with this baby. It's scary. They've got, and again, the
I've never
baby's
heard of
not
it.
seeing the presents and the
No.
stuff all
The
around.
baby
her.
is so young, he probably can't even see the person wearing the HoloLens.
Yeah, actually, baby's slightly cross-eyed, so that's one thing that's you're gonna have to watch out for. I saw the jerk. All right, there you go. HoloLens. It's on Twitter.
It's funny. They have nothing to sell, and they won't for a long, long time. And they really want people to like this thing.
This is the beginning of the drumbeat. No, this is good
It's
marketing.
really the beginning. We've been talking about this since April or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean,
Yep.
or
You
January.
slowly, slowly march towards it. You're building up excitement.
Yep. And in January, that's when Microsoft opens up the developer program to U.S. and Canadian developers. So it's
Sure.
just a month ahead of that, right?
Oh, so these
That's where
these
you
are
pay.
all Microsoft employees that are doing
Yes, they
But-
are. I believe they are.
Did anyone think in January that this would be available 1 year from then, only to select developers and at great cost?
No, not from what
I mean, the way
not from
they've
way
announced
pitched
this,
it.
they've not really,
Yeah,
they've never hinted that that's where this was going.
Yep.
yeah.
But that is how it's going. And in fact,
Yes.
the way you get into the developer program as you apply, you have to tell them, kind of what types of things you're envisioning using it for. Then if you get in, you can buy a developer kit for $3,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely a gated access kind of thing. We don't know what's in the developer kit at this point. We don't know what's included for $3,000.
I'm still
I assume
excited.
a headset. I assume.
I hope it's a box full of pixie dust.
I bought Oculus Rift on Kickstarter. That was only maybe $6. I don't know. I remember what I paid for that, the first one. I've been excited about that. We're still no closer. This first quarter, they're going to come out with the developer something for Oculus. So, I mean, this stuff takes time.
It does.
And maybe we're a little bit at fault for overhyping the future. Like, no,
but the company has never communicated this thing accurately. I'm not going to take the blame for listening to what they say and reporting it. I mean, I just, very late in the game, it's like, oh, and by the way, it actually looks nothing like what we've been showing you, even though we just showed you this baloney again. And it's not going to be out for, it's not even going to be a consumer product for a long, long time to come. And every single one of those things you just showed us was a consumer thing.
Yeah,
every single one of them.
that disconnect is a little bit troubling because
It's really, it's dishonest and it's weird. And
Right. Publicly, the word is the first applications for this are going to be business applications, right? They're going to be things like the partnership they did with Volvo and Autodesk and the space station, right? Like those are the kind of applications that'll be first. But the ones that they're showing everyone and that people are getting really hyped up about are consumer ones.
Yeah. Or Halo and a baby with animal blocks over its head that it can't see and ballerina on a table. It's like I mean, it's neat.
They're trying to seed. They're trying to seed ideas, right? Like they're seeking people's ideas. They're asking people to share ideas and ask for certain features to enable their ideas.
Okay, but what percentage of the population is a developer? Because the vast majority of people who see these things get all excited because they think this is happening, and this isn't happening. I mean, it may happen in the future. Yeah, it's not happening now.
Right.
It's just not. It's not.
Well, I'm curious. I'm going to be really curious what people who get those first developer kits think of it.
I don't know. I don't remember who it was, but somebody in the New York Times within the past week or 10 days finally wrote the article that I wrote back in April, where he said, and I had said, they really need to get this story straight on this thing because they keep showing these public demonstrations and it looks nothing like this when you use it. It's a tiny field of view. Yeah. And like, thank you. Finally, somebody, in a position to actually hit a mass audience saying this because it's true. Yeah.
Is there anything to be said about the fact that they apparently laid off 60 people in Israel on the HoloLens team, or is that just moving development
I think they're
to
just
Redmond?
Consolidating to Redmond.
Yeah. Because they were part of a startup that they acquired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those people all have the opportunity to apply for jobs elsewhere at Microsoft, including on the HoloLens team, I would imagine. Yeah. But
Mary Jo,
I think that's just...
You point out that Satya Nadella said Microsoft's first priority with HoloLens will be enterprise applications. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's another kind of little bit of a disappointment for those of us who are looking forward to playing Minecraft.
Yeah. I mean, they are showing us videos of industrial design using HoloLens now and things like that, but those aren't the things that get people really revved. I mean, they obviously will get the designers revved, but in terms of the general public, like if you see someone designing a car or a motorcycle using a HoloLens, it's not as exciting as seeing Minecraft, right?
Right.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
One of our listeners on Twitter says, yes, Excel spreadsheets everywhere with HoloLens.
Well, actually, what you'll see is a small portion of the Excel spreadsheet. And you can flick the numbers.
But what would be useful is a dashboard or a real-time graphics showing, I'm on the factory floor and I can pop up a productivity graphic, or I can look at an assembly line and see, coming from Excel stats maybe, but see charts, and I can see a lot of uses for this that, obviously
beyond whatever the uses are. I think because I really hammer on how dishonest this stuff is, because it is, and I have a really big problem with that. But that said, the one thing that this technology gets right is the realism of the holograms in the real environment. That when that little ballerina is on the table, or boxes are flying in the air, whatever it is, when you're looking at that thing, it really seems there. And whatever that bit is that flips in your brain, the message between your eye and your brain is, this is real. It really feels real. And if they can expand, the view, this thing is going to be amazing. And I'm sure they will, sometime down the road. But that stuff is awesome. It's just that right now you're looking through a very small portal to see it, but it really works well.
Let's talk about cloud storage. We started the show. I mentioned I bought the $5 unlimited cloud storage, and I am now. It's funny. I didn't use the OneDrive cloud storage. I wasn't one of the people who abused the unlimited storage by trying to use it as unlimited storage. But I thought, well, what the heck? I'm going to do this to Amazon. So I'm uploading everything I could think of, everything, and it's still less than a terabyte.
But did you notice what the issue with it is? Because I did the same thing. I thought, you know what? This thing is $60 a year normally. I mean, why not? Why not?
Yeah, even if in a year I have to pay $60.
But I don't know when this changed, and maybe someone in the chat room or on Twitter or something knows this. But back in the day, by which I mean someday before today, the Amazon Cloud Drive client on Windows worked like the Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox client. It was a sync client. So it would integrate into the file system. You could copy stuff in, and it would sync up. But what they're giving you today is an uploader. And so you have an Amazon Drive client on mobile devices. But if you want to use it from your PC, unless I'm missing something completely, what you get is a window that you can drop stuff into.
Yeah, or
right?
you can, no, but you can also tell it this folder. Oh, yeah, you're
Well,
right, though. It doesn't, well.
Because I actually tried it. I was thinking, I'll use this. Why not?
Right. Now I don't remember. I don't have it here installed.
Yeah, so it's fine. I mean, I guess you could then use the web client to move stuff around where you wanted it. But it looks like right now what you do is just kind of drag stuff in.
Yeah.
And it's basically like an FTP.
I think you're right. It's not like Dropbox or OneDrive.
Yeah, but
where
it used to
sync
be.
folders.
I'm positive it was before.
Well, I used to use a program called Jungle Disk. This was back when I was using S3. And S3,
Yes.
so Jungle
Yeah, I
Disk
used
was
it
a
too.
third-party program, and you would say, this is back up these folders to S3.
I used that with Windows Home Server, I believe.
Yeah, but then Jungle Disk got sold, and it's not the same, and so I kind of stopped doing that.
Windows, Amazon actually does, I should say, advertise third-party clients that will work as sync clients. But the one I looked at was
like
it was paid. It was like paid client.
There's one called ODrive, and what it does is it's kind of unify all your cloud storage to make it look like it's all one thing. So it includes OneDrive, but also
I've tried. I mean, I've tried
Dropbox.
all these things at one time or another.
And so I think that Amazon's probably saying, let these third parties do the kind of Jungle Disk type thing. I don't know. I don't know, but I feel like that's if you and so I've installed ODrive, and I'll let you know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't quite understand what's going on either. It's not a primary thing for me because I have my own, stuff already set up.
No, but if you have a bunch of photos and you just want them in a different place.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm backing up
why not?
all of my photos since 1999 because I thought that's a good place. Now I have another backup.
Yep.
Like I have 18 now.
Yeah.
You call it their crazy Eddie deal, but Ed Bott said you should read the fine print.
Ed makes me look like a sunny, happy person. I mean, give me a break.
I
went
looked
through
at
this
it
whole
and I
thing,
didn't
it was
think.
like,
He said it's not the deal you think it is. No, come on.
It's not for businesses. Well, yeah, obviously, it's it's a consumer client. I mean, I didn't find anything egregious.
No, I didn't either. He said you can't do it. You can't use pirated files.
You can't use it for work.
Can't use it for work.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sure.
There may be some throttling in there. It's unclear. Much of what Ed Bott's talking about is Amazon reserves the right to.
Of course.
But of course they're going to do that because they're looking at Microsoft and saying, yeah.
Right. Well, that's my one fear with this is that this thing, when the OneDrive stuff went south, I sort of examined all the different services. I did come to the conclusion this thing is crazy inexpensive. The problem is when they rope you in, it would be tough to upload a terabyte or more of data, and then next year the price goes up to 120.
Right.
And the next year goes up to 180. I mean, after a while it gets, you don't want to run into that kind of thing.
Right.
But I'm just supposing what might happen. I mean, I think the problem is that if enough people do it, maybe it could become too expensive. It's hard to say.
Amazon is in a different kind of world, I think, from you and me.
Yeah, but you know what? I sort of don't trust the company, and I think people have misunderstood what I meant by that when I say it, because I don't mean from a technological standpoint. I mean from more of a moralistic standpoint, from a predatory standpoint, from a competitive standpoint. We need to remember, because we're kind of in the Microsoft world, and the guys in your Google show are kind of in the Google world, whatever. But you probably don't have like an AWS or Amazon show, but Amazon's cloud services are actually number one by far. The cloud storage stuff they do.
Everybody else is trying to compete with Amazon.
Yeah. So Microsoft keeps trying with Azure. Google's flitting around doing various things, but really when it comes to this kind of thing, it's Amazon and it's everyone else. So we have to sort of presume that Cloud Drive is actually based on AWS.
Right.
So I get that we're not getting all of the quality of service type stuff and the uptime agreements and all that, but it's probably based on pretty decent technology.
I would
Right.
guess.
Yeah. And also, Amazon doesn't mind being in the business of people just storing stuff in their cloud. And Microsoft didn't really want to be in that business, they said, when they cut back the OneDrive storage. They were like, yeah, that's not the business we wanted to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's Amazon's business big time. Although
that's their business.
One wouldn't expect it. In fact, the whole web services thing was kind of like, oh, somebody came up and said, we don't use these all the time. Maybe we should sell this. Yeah. And basically, well, I don't know. All right, well, let's see. And then all of a sudden, it's what is it?
Who is ever going to need more than a gigabyte of online storage?
$50 billion a year business, some huge, massive business.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that happens? It's just amazing. We live in interesting times.
We do.
So I signed up. What the hell? I mean, but at some point it is going to get kind of crazy for me to manage all these different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have. I mean, because you get free photo uploading from Amazon already if you're a Prime member.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you do that? I mean, do you actually have any of your phones configured to do that?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah.
And do you use multiple services on your phones to back those?
Google Plus, Google Photos now, OneDrive.
Yep.
Amazon, and Flickr.
Jeez. And what's the last one?
And Flickr.
Flickr.
But I'm never going to lose any photos.
Nope.
Right.
The thing is, Google's photos is free for they compress them.
Yeah.
And Amazon is it's the file.
I know. But it's on Amazon. I mean, I guess the point for me is sort of, Amazon's nice for a backup. Google is potentially nice if you wanted to see those pictures somewhere. If you have a Chromecast, they can just kind of pump out onto the Chromecast.
Well, that's true. That's why I put them everywhere.
Yeah.
The one place I don't put them is Apple's iCloud because that costs me money. That's $2 for I get 200 gigabytes a month. 200 gigabytes for $2 a month. So it's not inexpensive. Although other ones
or Dropbox, which is probably the same price.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dropbox, I don't do that either.
It's not that Dropbox isn't awesome. It's just that that's probably not a great use of storage that you're paying for.
Well, and that's kind of where management's going to be an issue for me because I have Dropbox is where I put my documents folder, so I have access to that and every, but not not large media files. So it gets kind of complicated. That's where maybe ODrive would be a good solution because I can see where everything is in one interface.
I mean, I don't think it's a problem having multiple sync clients on your PC or Mac. I guess the issue is just
mobile. Because, I'm sending that same photo to 5 different places.
Yeah. Hopefully only on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you can set them to be Wi-Fi only and all that.
Well, I know, but you have to be careful with that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Not to mention, battery life consequences.
So you go on a week-long trip to Europe, and then you come back and your bill is $1,500.
Yeah. Let's take a break. We'll come back and talk about more Windows Phone stuff, more enterprise stuff. Of course, our back of the book tips and picks and beer. One of the things Paul and I love, and of course I immediately put it on my new Surface Book, is Audible. We're Audible fans. We love listening to audiobooks on Audible. I just saw, I've been rewatching Ken Burns' Civil War.
Nice.
And Lisa said, "Who's that Shelby Foote? I like him."
The narrator.
Yeah, well, not the narrator. The narrator is David McCullough, and I have his new one is the Wright brothers, and he's reading that, and that's awesome. But no, the Shelby Foote is the nice Southern gentleman who's telling anecdotes. It's been a long time, I know, since you've seen this. They re-released it in remastered, so it's HD.
Nice.
Anyway, I thought, I'm Shelby Foote, historian. He's written a lot about the Civil War. I bet he has some good books. And of course, nowadays when I'm searching for a book, I don't go to Amazon. I don't go, to the bookstore. I go to Audible.
Right.
And I say, do they have any Shelby Foote? And in fact, they do. His master work, which is the Civil War and Narrative, 3 volumes, 48 hours, 37 hours, and 47 hours.
So it's as long as the war.
It's as long as the war. Holy cow. Great narrator, though. Grover Gardner is one of my favorite narrators. So I'm probably not going to buy those, but I was pleased.
Yep.
I mean, you can get them if you want 150 hours of the Civil War. You know what I did, though? I know you're a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did get is a new book. It's going to be a series. I Actually, I didn't get it yet. It's on my in my shopping or my wish list. It's a new series, History of the Ancient World. I see, and I don't have it here. Shoot, I mustn't have. You know what I do is I have 2 credits here. I'm sitting here waiting, thinking, what am I going to buy? Anyway, here's the deal. We're going to get you a book free. History of the Ancient World, from the earliest accounts to the fall of Rome. Apparently, Susan Wise Bauer, who's writing this, is the first volume in a series that will tell the stories of all peoples, all events, all through time. So I got that. I got that going for me. But apparently it's very anecdotal and fun, and it's based on, first-person accounts and stuff. So what do you listen to, Paul? The reason we're mentioning
a bunch
this,
of stuff.
Yeah, me too. The reason we're mentioning this is because you can get a book free, and I'm going to tell you how in a second. You know what I really like, and I think it was Andy Anako told me, the sense of stuff. Or maybe it was you, Paul. We were talking about writing books. And that Stephen King book on writing is so good.
Yeah, So one of the books I'm reading is actually The Man with the Golden Typewriter, which is papers and letters from Ian Fleming while he was writing the Bond books.
I want to.
That is also about writing, and it's kind of incredible.
See, this is the problem with Audible, especially when you hang out with people who use Audible. That's another one going on my wish list. There are
amazing.
So many great books.
I saw on your wish list, The Man with the High Castle, one of those history revisionist things. I've got that I'm listening to that. Also, it's on Amazon now, by the way.
That's a Philip K. Dick. Yeah, and I read that when it came out, and it's an Amazon original series.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, and I really love the book. I love the book. So I thought, I'll listen to this. I can go on and on, but here's
a lot of good
the deal.
stuff.
Here's the deal. Go out right now and subscribe to Audible. Your first month's free. You're going to get the Audible Gold account. That'll give you a credit toward one audiobook. 99.9% of all the books are one credit. There are 180,000 books. That's part of the problem. It's difficult to choose. You also get the free daily digest of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. Your cost is nothing for the first 30 days, so you can cancel any time and pay nothing, but you get to keep that book forever. But you notice what Paul and I are doing, because we're Audible members, we're building our virtual bookshelf. And that's what you do with Audible. And I have a lot of books I haven't listened to yet, but I'm just looking forward to it. It's like having a great bookshelf ready to listen. And you can listen everywhere, including Windows Phone. Audible.com/Windows. Get your first one free. But I got to warn you, Paul and I will warn you, you're going to be hooked. Audible.com/Windows. And thank you, Audible, for being such great supporters of Paul and Mary Jo and everything we do on Windows Weekly. So, people have been asking this. When are they going to rebrand the Lumias to Surface? Is that going to be a different thing?
I mean, a Surface phone is absolutely happening. Or I should say, they are absolutely working on a Surface phone. Whether that thing sees the light of day, that's the trick. I mean, things can change, just like they changed in a horrible fashion over last July. But yes, right now, I mean, they're absolutely doing this. There is no doubt about it. The question is, does that mean it's Intel based and we're going to get Intel PC apps on Continuum? Does that mean we don't know? What I think it means is Surface look and feel, Surface materials, build quality. The Continuum thing makes sense to me because I think that the primary point of Surface as a brand is to chart new categories. And this takes the phone into a new category, just like the original Surface took a tablet into a new category, which is
I
now
don't think it'll be. Yeah, it's not really a rebranding though of Lumias. I don't think.
No, not at all.
Right, these will be phones that Microsoft designed, within the Surface team in the devices group. They won't be devices that were already in the pipeline from Nokia, like the 950 and the 950 XL.
Oh, interesting. Even the 950 were still pipeline.
They were.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will they replace Lumia? I get it. You're not going to rebrand it, or are you going to have two lines, a Lumia line and a Surface line?
Yeah, that's who can say.
I wonder. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because Lumia, with the current two phones being the exception, for the most part, since Microsoft has owned it, have been low-end phones and a couple of mid-level phones. And so you could make the argument that the kind of plasticky, lower-end devices, maybe those are Lumias, and that they go Surface for premium. They have done something very interesting with Surface this year, which I don't completely agree with, where they're a premium brand now and they're super expensive. And they're not undercutting other PC makers, which is, nice on the one hand, but you can kind of imagine, Surface Phone being the same kind of thing. It would be a flagship class device with appropriate pricing.
But we don't know much else about it. I mean, there's been speculation it might be an Intel-based device. If and when it shows up, might be ARM. We don't know that. We don't know when it's coming, though. There have been more and more reports saying that second half of next year is likely, which is a pretty long time to wait for that.
It feels like going to Intel might be a mistake.
By the way, thank you for saying that, because when people hear Intel, they get excited because it means desktop apps. And that's, I think some people believe still that there's going to be this one thing that makes Windows Phone take off, and maybe that's it. And I don't believe that. But what people don't understand, and I think what you're alluding to, is that Qualcomm in particular, let's just say ARM, has an amazing advantage for mobile devices, for performance, for battery life, for fanless designs, thin, light, small, all that kind of stuff. The best that Intel can do right now, it is basically an extremely low-end computer that is much bigger than a phone.
Right.
And they just aren't there yet.
I feel like you would, you don't want to trade in a really strong working platform. But you're right. I mean, Continuum implies
How do you like the phrase, big-ass phone?
Yeah.
Surface.
Yeah. Like big-ass cable?
Phone. Yeah. And it needs a cable to connect to power. Oh, and it has a fan.
That would be terrible. Nobody wants that.
Yes, right. So, I mean, let's wait and see. But
I feel like it's frankly Intel that keeps these rumors going, because Intel is desperate to get in mobile, but they had the Scale platform. They're really trying to get mobile, but they frankly are having a hard time competing with ARM.
This might be the one that kills them. They've made nice transitions in the past. They hit 64-bit following AMD's lead. They were able to get their desktop chips down to mobile chips with the Core platform, and they did a pretty good job with that given the device types. But I really feel like phones and tablets are where they just hit a brick wall. I just don't. It's not clear that they're ever going to be able to compete.
The question too is, what is this thing that we keep talking about, a Surface Phone? Because if you think about what the Surface brand is, it's not always just what you think it is. Like, think about Surfaces. Like, who knew that form factor would be what defined this tablet that they say can be your laptop, right? I just say they say because I still don't go with that. But them. But I wonder if this Surface Phone is more phablet than phone, and that Continuum maybe is the centerpiece of whatever it is.
Right.
And maybe that's why it might be an Intel-based device. Like, it's not really meant to be a phone used as a phone, but more some kind of a new category.
Like a Surface Mini.
Right.
That could dock and be used as a desktop computer. Oh, and by the way, there's a phone app, and if you have a cellular connection, you can use it as a phone.
It does feel like
what the phone app is. It's Skype.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Well, that's what the phone app is actually on Windows 10.
I've done that with 7-inch tablets. That's and it is. It's a big phone. That's all. That's
and by and that's we're kind of speculating here, but she's right. This falls into that gray area, that weird place where Microsoft wants to be with Surface. It's something familiar, but it's something new. It's a new category of something familiar. There's no reason. You see a phone app in Windows 10 today. Why can't your computer just be used as a phone? Yeah. Apple's doing it. My problem is, why not?
This is driven from the wrong direction. Usually you want to drive these developments because users say, here's something I need, here's something I want. This is being driven by Intel's desire to get into this market, by maybe Microsoft's desire to find something that could get that people buying Windows Phone again, not by user demand.
Yeah.
As Steve Jobs has pointed out so many times, sometimes people don't know what they want until they see it. And
but you're in a category that people are very well served by. They're getting what they want already. It's not like there's
I agree with you. But this is what I mean. In other words, I think people who are Windows Phone fans in particular suffer from a sort of an irrational belief that if things had just, if they just done this one thing, if they just shipped a flagship last year, if they just do this, the platform's going to take off. And that's not really how it works. I don't think there is a a single thing that fixes everything. But I think recasting Windows 10 Mobile/Phone as a mobile PC does allow the platform to continue, because you can kind of just suck it in with all the PCs. It just becomes another PC. And I honestly, it's a valid approach. I don't know that there's any evidence that anyone is using an 8-inch tablet today to dock it to a desktop computer and using it as a full-blown computer and then unplugging it and taking it as a tablet. By which I mean not literally that nobody does it, but that I don't think any mass number of people do that. If it had phone capabilities, would that put it over the top? I don't know. I don't think so. But
well, if that's what Microsoft wants, and I can understand why they would, because A, they're losing in mobile, and B, they'd love to take advantage of a very rich app ecosystem in the mobile space.
Yeah.
But
well, what do you do when you're losing the debate? You change the argument.
You change the argument, yeah.
Yep.
So we're not talking about phones anymore. We're talking about PCs. And who's winning in PCs again? Was it Microsoft? Yeah. Right. So it's a PC. And by the way, I honestly, I'm not arguing that it's not a bad strategy. I don't think it's a golden, answer to all of the ills of the platform. But and by the way, we're also sort of speculating here, so we'll see what they actually do. But I do think they come out with something unique that deserves the term Surface Phone. I think that this device will be Surface.
I mean, the way they talked about Surface when it first came out was the tablet that can replace your laptop. So what if they call this the phone that can replace your tablet, or the phone that can replace your PC?
The phone that could replace your laptop.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They'd be better off if they stopped releasing apps for iOS.
Nah, I think they have to do it. Yeah. They have to hedge their bets at this point.
Well,
Leo, we just made this great commercial embracing Apple.
But you see the problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, someone just asked about this on Twitter today, but Motorola and the Moto X and how awesome that is with the configurator they have and everything. They're a huge Microsoft partner, the number one PC maker in the world. Why don't they just make Windows phones? Wouldn't that be incredible? It would be incredible, except for one thing. Lenovo/Motorola, I think it was Lenovo who said this, Lenovo owning Motorola, said we don't have to do that anymore because Microsoft fully embraces Android now. So their apps are all on Android. There's no reason for us to support two platforms because of what Microsoft has done. Yeah. They actually made that decision easy for them. So, I think we all agree in general that Microsoft has to support these other platforms. But there's, this is the
and then they kill the Android bridge. I mean, you can't have. Can you have? Is there an example of a company having two kind of fundamentally competing strategies in place
that works?
That's like succeeded?
Yeah. Like, is there a car maker? Like, does GM make BMW parts?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, well, just having here's a GM radio for your BMW.
It's good to have a plan B, but if your plan B is undermining your plan A and you implement them both, seems like you're kind of...
I'm not going to put words in Satya Nadella's mouth, but honestly, what I see here is they understand where the future is, where people are going. 1.5 billion smartphones will be sold this year, less than 300 million PCs. So, 5 times the market. This is just 1 year. They got to be there. And so you can't just abandon your platform. And I don't like to use words like legacy and all that kind of stuff. I know people get their, all in a bunch over this stuff. But I mean, ultimately what we're talking about here is you have to do the right thing by your customer base, whatever we're talking about here, if it's enterprises, developers, consumers, whatever. But you can't do that to the detriment of your future. So it is contra. I agree. It's sort of strange, but they have to do this because if they just did Windows, it would be over. We would be talking about the decline and fall.
Yeah, I think they realize they've got to have a presence in mobile, and so their first choice obviously would be to have Windows Phone be a success and have their own devices and their own mobile platform be a success. But I think they also are realistic enough to say, and we're so far behind at this point that if it doesn't, at least we're going to have our apps on every other platform and our services on every other platform. So that will still give us a presence in mobile, even though not a first party.
By the way, everyone, when there is a PC, iTunes is on Windows,
Right.
iTunes is now on Android. You know, Steven Sandhoff on Twitter points out that Amazon puts their stuff on every platform as well. They want you to buy a Fire OS device and stay in their ecosystem, but if you're on an iPhone or an iPad, they'll put.
To be fair, Amazon is backing away from that. Remember, they aren't on Apple TV, and they won't sell the Apple TV because in a weird catch-22, they haven't made an app for Apple TV. Although there's
actually the Amazon Prime Video app is coming to Apple TV.
That's the rumor.
Okay. I agree. Yeah,
I'll believe that.
But by the way, that app, that Amazon thing about Apple TV and Chromecast, that's what I mean when I say I don't trust Amazon.
Right.
It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's the predatory behavior with ebooks. There's a lot of stuff. You know, Amazon is like Google's going to find itself getting into a lot of trouble because of their behavior, and once they have a monopoly, you know, they're going to have some issues.
Yeah. Oh, Brock Barlow says GM has supplied BMW with automatic transmissions.
Oh,
there you go.
Awesome.
I'll drink to
that. Which, by the way, isn't why you buy a stick shift when you buy a BMW, but it is another reason.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
That's great.
We have a great audience.
Yes.
I love them.
You know, but you know what's great about it is no matter how ludicrous is something you say is, they will find the facts to back it up.
Heck yes.
Yep.
That's right. They're behind you. They got your back.
Yeah.
They do.
So I was mentioning the Android bridge. That's gone, but the iOS bridge is actually, it says here, available. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It is available
in beta form, right? It's a
preview. Yeah. The Islandwood Bridge, as it's called, is available, and there are even instructions for how to take a simple iOS app and bring it over to the Windows platform using Islandwood. John Kennedy did a nice blog post from Microsoft about this. And, you know, it's not for complex apps right now because I guess all the libraries and such that you need to do that aren't there yet, but you can actually make it work if you have a simple app. So, you know, that a lot of us have wondered, okay, maybe the new strategy then is since they have Islandwood working and many of the apps that people want on Windows Mobile are on iOS already, maybe they don't need the Android bridge.
Oh, I was going to go in a different direction. I was going to say maybe they just do the same thing for Android.
Or do the same thing.
That's an interesting thought too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So is there an example of an Android app that isn't on iOS that we have to have on Windows?
Right.
There might not be.
Right. I mean, and I think in other countries there may be, right? Because as I'm kind of recalling, the reason they did the Android bridge was they knew iOS phones were popular here in the U.S., but in other countries, Android's more popular. So the thinking was there might be Android apps that people want in other countries.
Okay. Well, you know, Islandwood. Is that the Android
Islandwood.
one? No, Islandwood is iOS.
Astoria is Android, and Islandwood is the iOS.
So Astoria was canceled, we believe.
We think.
Pretty positive. I've heard that the Astoria guys are working on Islandwood now. I mean, it seems to me the right approach. If you're going to do an Android bridge, if you're going to do an Android bridge and an iOS bridge, regardless of the approach, it seems like you would do the same thing on both, right? I mean, it was kind of odd that the Android one was so completely different.
Yeah.
So maybe the right thing to do is just to recast it as the same type of deal. You import your project, it points out the parts that you have to change, you work on it, and hopefully you come up with a Windows
and there's no
app.
emulation layer. That seemed to be
it's a native app.
The sticking point, right? Yeah.
And by the way, don't you think that would soothe a lot of issues that people have inside and outside of Microsoft about this kind of weird work that's occurring now between the platforms? You know, if the end result is in fact a native, universal app, mission accomplished. You've just brought on board a new Windows developer.
Yeah.
Somebody's saying that the Islandwood team is much smaller than the Astoria team was. The Astoria team numbered in the hundreds, and the Islandwood team is in the tens. But isn't that what Microsoft said? It's really hard to do an Android port.
Yeah.
Maybe it's so easy to do an Apple port that they don't need a big team. I don't know.
I can't imagine that's the case, but
I don't think frankly, the size of the team has nothing to do with anything.
Sure.
In fact, too big of a team is a bad thing.
Right. The Astoria team was originally not just working on this bridge. The Astoria originally was going to be like streaming, gaming streaming. It was going to be like Android emulation in a bigger platform. Like they had a much bigger charter that kind of got narrowed down.
10 people is plenty to do this bridge. Really, of any.
It's not Apple, Leo. You know, we don't really do things like this at Microsoft.
The bigger the team,
everything's
the
a
more
Normandy
complicated.
invasion.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you do this, and you do that, 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 and you do that.
Sure.
And let's all.
It's going to be a chain of command. Let's get some memos going. Keep everyone busy.
Oh, Lord.
All right. This is a good question. I forgot about this. Jason Lundgren, who's listening, asked, isn't Islandwood only for PC apps? Like, can you actually use Islandwood to bring an app to the phone? I'm not sure about that, actually.
Islandwood is the
iOS bridge.
iOS one. Yeah, you know, I've got this thing in the back of my head that I thought Android was only phones and iOS was only PC/tablet. Could be completely wrong. And of course it's out of date now anyway. Does that sound right?
Right. Yeah. I think you might be right.
Are you saying Mac apps?
No. In other words, if you use the Microsoft bridges to port an app over from iOS, what you're creating is a PC/tablet app, not a phone app. If you use the Astoria bridge to port over an Android app, I could be completely wrong, but I believe it was only for phones. And I think that has something to do with the ARM architecture and,
and also you're right. You're right, because the
I think
emulator only worked on Windows Mobile, and it didn't work.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think so.
I'm looking at this video. I think it's probably from Plan 9 or somebody like that.
It looks like a COM component.
They say developers would be able to code for Windows 10 in Objective-C. That's the standard language.
That's or as we call it, hell on earth.
Yeah. Using the same APIs as on the iPhone, access native Windows APIs and their own APIs for features Microsoft did not implement. Oh, what a mess.
Yeah.
See, because what my understanding was, the promise of all this was you take your existing code and it's easy to port it to Windows Phone. But if you're starting to use Windows Phone APIs, that means this is refactoring everything.
It's a new thing. Yeah, you're talking about a new
thing. No,
and by the way, this is the fundamental problem with all of these bridges, because I think it's already tough on developers to have. They already have multiple forks or multiple apps, however you want to say it. A lot of these, most people are going to have an iOS app, an Android app. There'll be a web client. Some people are going to have desktop Windows, Mac clients, whatever. Introducing Windows Phone / Universal Windows apps into this equation is a bridge too far, if you will. I mean, I think it's asking a bit much of most developers to support yet another thing. And again, they're pushing the 1 billion people, whatever, but
this is bad.
It's a tough one. It's a tough ask.
Here's a quote from this is a forum posting on GitHub from Leo Nathan, and he's saying, I am sorry, but what is promised in the Project Islandwood session video was finally presented are two completely different things. The project is in a pitiful state with a quasi-archaic iOS 6 level API. We're at iOS 9, by the way.
Jeez.
And even as that, so much of it is implemented as stubs or worse in a very naive and incorrect manner, this project is at least 2 years away, this developer says, from being able to call it remotely ready, by which time it would be 5 years of API behind the times. Oy.
I mean, we don't know how accurate this is.
Right.
No.
Oh, this makes sense. So Wolfell, who's listening to, says Islandwood would let you port an iOS app to PC, turn it into a universal Windows platform app, and then because it's a UWP app, you can change it to make it run on mobile. That makes sense.
Yeah. But again, now you're talking about something, you want a new app.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All my hopes are
We're not
dashed.
going to solve this problem, I think.
Bridges burned.
Okay, here's a riddle. What Windows 10 mobile enterprise thing showed up on MSDN?
Keyword being thing.
Thingy.
Showed up on Windows on MSDN this week. What?
So I saw a bunch of people saying, "Oh, Microsoft released Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise this week on MSDN." But I think what that is actually is the license for Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise. It's not actually the bits.
It's not like a build.
It's not a build.
I heard it was like an XML file or something.
I think it's like an XML file. Yeah, it is, I think.
Well, thank God. I could use that.
Remember when there was a registry key that would turn Windows NT Workstation into server? It's like that.
Oh, it's like that.
It is like that, right. So, yeah, it's not actually, you can't go there if you're a normal user and download Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise. You have to have the rights first to be able to unlock it. And then you have to get the product key and the license and unlock it. But it's there if you have those rights, I guess, now.
Are you saying that the 1,300-word blog post I wrote yesterday is not really worth anything?
Did you write about it?
No.
Many others did.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Cortana is fine. Cortana in iOS.
Yeah, so obviously Cortana on iOS is never going to be as powerful as it is on Windows Phone, let alone Android, because of the lockdown nature of the platform. But Microsoft has announced plans to port it to iOS and has now delivered the very first beta of it to a very limited group of testers. You might know this, Leo. I guess they're using the Apple test flight system,
right?
Which I think limits deployment to what, 2,000 people?
Yeah, it's a small number.
Small number. So that's the system they're currently using. So it's not a big group of people, but eventually what we'll see.
Testing on iOS is hard because of that. You know, Android, you just say, here, sideload this APK, no problem.
Yeah, third parties used to make these side-loading test flight type things for iOS, and then Apple realized, we have to do this. So they have their own system now. I think it's called test flight. But that's what Microsoft is using. Because Microsoft loves Apple, as we saw in the Christmas ad. They always do the right thing.
We're in harmony.
It's harmony, yep.
So
I think this will track close to what we saw in Android. Android is obviously still in beta as well, but it's now broadly available. And so this will probably expand to broader and broader groups until there's a public release that would have to be through the store, I would imagine. And so we'll get it there. We'll see what that looks like. But again, this is just like what we were talking about. I mean, they have this kind of core advantage or core feature, then they're putting it everywhere. So, I mean, in many ways, we should take this for the hint that it is, why are they not just developing for Windows? Well,
yeah, you're right. It's 2,000.
2,000, okay.
Yep.
I thought so.
Yep.
Now, this is the part of the show where Mary Jo's going to get us back for last week.
I am.
Wait, but don't you you're skipping right over this controversial
I did. I'm sorry.
Statement of yours, Paul. I don't know. Do you want to not say it?
No, I don't mind saying it. I'm doing my kind of holiday / best of 2015 articles, and I've been thinking about this one for a couple of days, as you might imagine. And for all the phones that have come through my little home office here, you can see a bunch of them in the background there, this year, for the new Microsoft phones, the 950 and 950 XL. When I look at this stuff, and I really, just thinking about it honestly, I mean, I really think the iPhone is the best smartphone at this point in time, unfortunately, for virtually anybody, and that includes Microsoft people. If you really want and need those Microsoft apps, there's actually some unique stuff on Android, to be honest, but I think ultimately the iPhone is the preferred platform and is the better platform overall, app quality, ecosystem quality. The whack-a-mole user interface. It's so easy, Leo. Just do it.
Yeah, I feel like
it hurts just to even say it.
Apple has not kept up with user interface design. I mean, Windows Phone's a good example of how much better.
But you know what? Ultimately, though, when people use a phone, I really do believe that the Windows Phone UI is superior. It's just awesome. Yeah. The glanceability stuff is amazing on Live Tiles, but you have to have the apps.
Yeah, no, you have to.
And so even though I have to dive into a mail app to find out what's going on with my email in iOS, man, do you have a lot of choices there, And all the apps are there. We talked about this stuff. The parking app for the MBTA, the train app. Yep. The airline I use has the app, which is not a Windows Phone, JetBlue. It goes on and on and on, and it all comes down to apps. And I think we can complain about esoteric topics like user experience and user interfaces all we want, but at the end of the day, I think apps are the user interface that people care about. And Apple is not where Google is. I think one of the places Google is doing a much better job is in what I think of as the next generation UI, which is the Google Now on tap stuff. Proactive Siri and Cortana are going in that direction as well, but I think that's one place where Google has the advantage. And maybe that will put Android over the top over time, who can say. But, for 2015, it's kind of a tough one. But I really do think the iPhone is the best phone.
All right, you will find many agreeing with you.
Sure.
I have to say battery life on the iPhone 6 Plus is so good that it just dwarfs everything else.
It's amazing. I know.
Camera, really fantastic.
And by the way, just to answer the obvious complaint, yes, I will be renaming my website to Supersite for iPhone tomorrow.
No, but this is, we often get dinged for this kind of thing because especially people who are, journalists who cover Microsoft especially, but there's journalists who cover Apple, like Andy and Akko, who say, I think Android's better. But as ultimately we are tech journalists whose responsibility is to
it's not the special interest group.
Yeah, we're not here promoting Microsoft.
Mary Jo knows. She saw me screaming at my phone. I was trying to post photos to Facebook from the Lumia, the new one. Refused to post a photo on multiple occasions. And that was my, right, that's what this thing does. It doesn't work. And that's maddening, and enough of those experiences with any platform and you're going to go looking somewhere else. I mean, that's the type of stuff that really bites people.
But, there are bits and pieces where Windows Phone's superior. The desktop is better. You could argue that Cortana might be better than Siri. I think that in some cases it is. Although I like Google Now the best of the three.
I do too. That's what. Yeah. Right. The battle for second place doesn't matter too much. I think when it comes to that kind of AI, whatever you want to call that, personal digital assistant, Google Now is the best. Absolutely. It's so good. It's actually kind of scary and weird.
I love it. I really love it. But I go back and forth, as you may know, between Android and iOS pretty easily.
What's your favorite phone? If you were to pick one phone from this year, what would it be?
Oh, that's hard.
Right.
I think probably.
Let's put it this way: from a physical form factor perspective.
Oh, like the hardware iPhone wins. Period.
Right. Bingo.
There's nothing more elegant than the iPhone.
Yeah. All right. So then, from sort of an overall, just the way it works day to day.
I like Android a lot. If the battery life were better on the Nexus 6P, I would say, for instance, the fingerprint reader really is fast and works. Really great.
I have a 5X, and I bet it might be better on the 6P because it's bigger. The only goofy thing first of all, it's immediate. So you pick it up even when the phone's off, you tap it, you come on.
That's how you turn the phone on.
Apple
is you unlock it. Yeah, it's better
really
than
good.
Apple. Yeah.
But the funny thing is, on this thing, because of the size of the phone, if you look at this, I actually find myself hitting the camera button.
Yeah, well, that's not good. You don't do that on the 6.
You don't want to do that. That doesn't sign you in. In fact, that just makes for blurry
the 6P, the camera is pretty clearly not.
It's got a nice
Yeah.
That might be a better design.
Yeah. I'm torn because the desktop interface on iOS is so out of date now, and the notification system and all that is so out of date that in many respects Android wins. But hardware, you're right. There's the best hardware out there, and I include battery life in that.
It's hardware, the app ecosystem, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with you on that. I think Android has pretty much everything.
They're close.
And there are things Android can do that many things Android can do that Apple won't let iPhones do. NFC is supported on the iPhone only for Apple Pay.
There's no USB-C on iPhone. There's no wireless charging.
I like USB-C, although that's not a huge deal. You can't do Wi-Fi sniffing on an iPhone because they don't let you access that. So there's a lot of things you can't do.
But actually, the walled garden approach that Apple has, I think, actually benefits people.
Their battery life is so good.
Yeah, in some ways, yes. Yeah. And there's the big detriment that I think people don't quite understand is if you launch something like the Amazon Kindle app or the Audible app or the Google Play Movies app, you can't browse the stores because Apple would charge a 30% VIG on every purchase you make. So the app makers don't put the stores in their apps. So you have to go find those things on your own elsewhere using a web page or something.
The Android wins.
On Android, that's not a problem.
No. Yeah.
And that's an advantage that Android has.
So, but the two phones I carry are, I guess, the best phones of the year, which is the iPhone 6s Plus and the 6P from Nexus.
Nice. Okay. I can see that.
And they're both excellent. I mean, if the battery life on the Nexus 6P approached that of Apple, I would.
What about the camera quality compared? This is one thing I've not done yet.
It's very good. You know, what's now gotten to the point where between the 950, the Nexus 6P, the iPhone 6s,
the S6, and the Galaxy
S6
Note 5.
and Note 5, they're all
awesome.
Superior. Some, if you like super sharp pictures, you like certain kinds of color.
Or night photos.
Yeah, well, none of them are great at night photos.
The 950 is pretty good at that.
Yeah, so maybe that's the winner there. But so they're not equal, but they're all excellent.
They're all excellent.
Good enough that they're as good as a point and shoot. This is a f2 with they have big pixels on the 6P. So.
Sure. One thing you can do on Android devices and iPhone that you can't do on Windows Phone is get lenses.
Yeah.
And so you can get macro lenses, telephoto lenses, wide-angle lenses, and you get actual like optical zoom. It doesn't zoom, but you get an optical
like the Olo clip. That's where selling a lot of hardware really helps. The accessory space on iOS is amazing.
Yep. So if you care about cameras, I mean, that kind of takes it to the next level.
Cases.
Yep.
Yeah. Mary Jo.
Sorry.
It's your turn.
No, I'm actually really interested to listen to this because I have a feeling next year I'm going to have to make a choice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've only been using Windows Phone, so I have nothing to contribute about how it compares to iOS or Android phones, but I'm going to be maybe in the market.
I think
Verizon.
you would love a 6S Plus. I think you would really love this.
She doesn't like Apple,
device.
though. I've been trying to convince her of this. I just think the problem with Android is that you get into a bit of the same problem you have on the Windows side, where it's a little too Wild West. I think that Android appeals to, well, obviously it appeals to a lot of people. They sell a lot of them, but I think the people really kind of choose it specifically because it is Android, like the openness of it, like that they can do whatever they want with it. If there's any gray area thing, it's on
apps. I don't use Google Apps and services, so that's one.
You don't have. Well, you don't have to.
You don't have to, but it kind of feels like if you use a Windows phone and you don't use Microsoft services, it's kind of
yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it's a phone that's built to
you could buy an iPhone and use only Google services if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You could
but
use
not as a full class first class citizen. It's a
right. Yeah.
So
like I don't even use Gmail or G Drive. So me having an Android phone, I don't know.
There's no real reason.
Yeah.
I think I'm telling you, you're going to get the 6S Plus, and you're going to say, why did I wait?
Yeah.
I do believe that. Saying that my preferred of the two is this Nexus 6P, but
plus I eagerly await the cult of Mac photo view at the Apple Store in downtown Manhattan.
Right. Yeah.
You might want to just
you know
order
what?
that one.
Maybe Microsoft will surprise me, and Surface Phone will be what I want.
It's got to be frustrating that you can't get a 950 on Verizon. That's just terrible.
Yeah, that's frustrating. But yeah.
And you can use, I guess all the Microsoft apps on iOS are really great.
Right.
I really see you. I just see you with a rose gold iPhone 6S in your hand.
My daughter switched from a Windows phone to an iPhone this week.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's almost, you know what? It's almost like saying, okay, I give up.
It is kind of like
join the lemmings. Yep. And I understand why you don't want to do that. I'm reluctant to do that.
Comforting warmness. It's like good tea,
Come on in, Mary Jo. The water's fine.
You've seen The Matrix, Mary Jo, where they hook people into those machines and they're using energy?
I don't know if you remember this. I actually bought an iPad a few years back before Microsoft had the Surface because I was looking for a really nice Windows tablet, and I'm like, I hate every Windows tablet in the market. So I bought an iPad.
I vaguely remember that, yeah.
Yep. I kept it for a couple of years, and then when they came out with the Surface, I'm like, you know what? Now there is something I could use. And there were other better tablets at that point that ran Windows. So maybe it'll be an interim thing for me. Maybe I'll go iOS for a while, and if Microsoft survives in mobile, I'll come back. I don't know.
Well, I mean, when the first iPhone came out in 2007, I immediately dropped Windows Mobile like the bad habit that it was, because Windows Mobile at the time, 6.5 or whatever they were on, was so awful.
Yeah.
And maybe they were only on 6, I don't remember. But, over the subsequent generations, the 3G, the 3GS, and then Microsoft came out with Windows Phone, and I kind of didn't look back. I mean, I was very faithful to Windows Phone for a long time. This year has been sort of a transition, and not necessarily back to iPhone for me. I can use lots of different devices, and I do, but going back and forth, you really do feel the pain points on Windows Phone more.
Yeah.
And you see how much better it can be for certain things, on other phones.
Mary Jo Foley, time for some enterprisey stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
Oh boy, I'm gonna just launch Call of Duty back here.
No, Paul may chime in on one of these two things here. So the first thing I wanted to talk about that came out this week, because we've actually had this as a code name before on Windows Weekly. It was called Project Kratos, Kratos.
Sounds like a Superman villain.
It was like a video
Sounds
game,
like a Greek myth.
Yeah, Kratos. Yeah.
So Kratos was this thing called Power Apps. So we knew Microsoft was working on something mysterious called Power Apps. We knew that they thought it could be one of their next billion-dollar businesses because they had advertised for some candidates for jobs to work on Power Apps and said that. But this week is when they actually took the covers off and said, here is Power Apps. They announced it at their Convergence show in Europe. So what Power Apps are is yet another attempt by Microsoft to get non-professional developers to write apps. They've tried with things like Light Switch before and Project Sienna. The idea is you shouldn't have to be a coder to write simple apps. And with Power Apps, that idea is you shouldn't have to be a coder to write simple business apps. So say you want to have an app in your company to do something really easy, like allow registrations for an internal event. That's the kind of app that Power Apps is being built to supply. So you can write a Power App in a Power App. It can run on iOS or Android. It can run on the web. It can run on Windows Phone. And the idea is if you're somebody who's never coded before, you'll be able to take these connectors that Microsoft's building and pull data into your app from various sources. So if, say, you need SAP data or you need Salesforce data or SQL Server data, these connectors will already be ready for you, and you just kind of plug the blocks in together and you make a mobile app. So now this is out in it's an invitation-only preview, so you can apply if you want to get in on the Power Apps preview. And I've seen quite a few people who are getting into the preview tweeting that they're surprised it works as well as it does. So if you're interested, you can go to Microsoft's site, just do a search for Power Apps, and you'll find the place where you can apply. And then if you get in, you'll be able to start making basic apps, basic business apps. And if you are a pro developer, they also are going to allow you to use this as well and supplement it with real programming tools and make more complex apps. But the real group this is for like business type users who want to tap data in their company, but they don't want to learn how to code. That's who that is for. So that's one of my enterprise things. The other one is if you're an Office 365 business user, the E5 plan came out this week. So E5 is like the top end, high end piece of Office 365 business. It costs $420 per user per year. It's not for home users, obviously. But for that price, you do get a lot. You're going to now get all of the new Skype for Business services that Microsoft's been talking about over the past few months. So they have a cloud PBX for people with PSTN calling. They have PSTN conferencing. They have this new thing called Skype Meeting Broadcast, where you can broadcast a Skype meeting for up to 10,000 people.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
So this is for serious enterprise users, and it has all the other pieces of Office 365 that you would assume, like the actual apps themselves that you can download. IM, online meetings for businesses, file storage, sharing, Exchange Online, all that stuff for the $420 per user per year.
Would all the people in the 10,000 user meeting have to have one?
I think no. So if you're just
nice
interested
profit.
if you're just interested in that one, you can be on E1, which is $8 per user per month.
That's $80,000 a month. Wow.
Yeah. Right. So E1 is $8 per user per month. E3 $20 per user per month, and E5, the one I'm talking about, is $35 per user per month, or $420 a year. I think Paul wrote a little something about some of the Skype for Business stuff. I don't know if he wants to chime in, but that's the gist of this. I said, do you care about any of the Skype for Business stuff?
No.
Because I think you wrote about it too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about this, honestly. The Skype team and other parts of Microsoft over the years have been trying to integrate traditional PBX/PSTN stuff into Microsoft phone technology. You know, Outlook, Office Communicator, Link, now, Skype for Business. And they also had those proprietary, remember they had Windows XP embedded devices? I can't remember what that phone system was called. That was kind of a cool little thing from many years ago. But it looks like with this version, they've got the complete meal deal, finally.
They do.
Something that surpasses what they ever did on-prem, something they can offer through the cloud. And so it's not so much an integration piece as it is a replacement piece. I mean, they want you to get rid of your legacy phone systems, basically.
They do. That's
obviously you can dial in with a normal phone if you're on the other end of it. So.
Yep.
But it seems like they finally did it. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't more fanfare around this, because I know they've been working on this stuff for basically 10 years.
Yeah,
they've had longer.
Yeah, they've had enterprise voice for a while for Link when it was called Link for Business, and then Skype for Business. But getting all this working in the cloud, this is something they've been testing and trying for a while, and now it's there.
I think they call it. I'm sorry, I was looking at cloud dial tone, I think is the term Microsoft coined for this.
Is it? Yeah. I would advise anybody who's looking at this, though, to really look at the fine print of the pricing on this, because yes, they're saying for this price for E5 you can get all this stuff, but then there are all these extra costs. So you might get per minute consumption charges if you're using PSTN calling on different plans, and some of these extra features cost more. Like it's an add-on for domestic calling plans if you want to add that, and then there's an international plan. Yeah, so
it's like when calling Europe used to be really expensive,
Exactly.
Yeah, call after 7.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, it's something worth checking out if your company is on Office 365 business plans and you want, like you said, the full meal deal. Now it is available for purchase. So that's our enterprise stuff. But we still have, don't worry, we still have an enterprise.
And you rolled me right into the middle of the enterprise stuff.
Oh, yeah.
How dare you?
Man, she's cold.
I am. We have to make up for the Xbox episode last week.
Yeah. Well, enterprise people are thanking you. I got a package from Greg, one of our listeners.
From Greg?
Hey, Greg, not your Greg.
Oh, I see.
Tampa, Conifer, Colorado, and Dillon Beach, California. He says, I don't like it that the penguin behind you, the penguin,
Which one?
I have 3. They're all tuxes, right, for Linux. He says, but the one with the clock in the tummy, he says, no, he says, I was in Anchorage last week. I saw ice, snow, Eskimos, and penguins. No penguin had a clock in its tummy. I think yours, in addition to the fact that it's inoperative, you may notice the time has not changed, is also politically incorrect. Also,
Yikes.
Alaska is, of course, the most northwest part of our country. What about the rest of us? To help you solve these problems, I bring you a Colorado black bear with a functional clock. And yes, in fact,
Leo,
yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Paul.
Aren't penguins, aren't they only in the South Pole?
I think he's making. I'm not
saying he couldn't have
joke. Making joke. But and in fact, those penguins are impossible penguins because there are no penguins with orange bills and orange feet in the world.
Sure.
But he has replaced. He says, if you please would replace your dysfunctional penguin with this black bear, then I'll send you a Florida alligator clock next time. And
it's bugging him. Every week.
He's not alone.
No.
There were a bunch of people who said that penguin put some batteries in it, and we did, and it still didn't. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful, Greg. Thank you.
By the way, speaking of Linux not working, when we were in the
that's what that
we
means.
were in the train system, I think at Heathrow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I took a photo of a screen. People always take these pictures. Windows blue screen. Yeah, I got one of Linux doing the same things.
Yeah, but when Linux blue screens, it's more enjoyable. This is This is quite something here.
Well,
This is not a bear. This is two bears bearing the time.
fancy.
Yeah, I kind of like this.
I mean, the time doesn't appear to be correct.
Well, I could fix that. We got to put a battery in the bear.
It must be running Linux.
All right, we're going to take a break. I will set up my bear, and then we'll get to the back of the book, which is lots of good stuff, including beer, not bear, beer. Our show today brought to you by Harry's. Well, I just got my new Harry's kit. Harry's is, of course, as everyone knows who listens to our shows, the best place to get your razors and your blades for a fraction of the price you're paying for those fancy drugstore blades, and get a mighty fine shave to boot. It's also a great place to get a holiday gift. These are the new holiday gifts from Harry's. Perfect for whether it's an inexpensive gift for the Secret Santa. You get the Truman kit from Harry's for just $15. In fact, we'll give you $5 off that, your first purchase, so you can impress for less. And now this is, oh, I love this. This is the new Winter Winston. And it comes in this lovely gift box if you get it engraved. So for dad or somebody, your hubby, somebody really important, look at this with the copper handle. It's so beautiful. Engraved with their initials. And with all Harry's kits, whether it's $15 or up, you get the handle. You get, not this handle, this is the fancy handle. You can get the Truman handles, a beautiful plastic handle. I mean, very comfortable. In fact, Steve Gibson prefers the plastic handle. I don't know why. He says this one's cold in the morning. I don't know. You get 3 blades, you get the Harry's cover, and you get your choice of the Harry's shave cream. it's a full-size tube. It's not like some sampler. Or the Harry's foaming shave gel. Sometimes people prefer that. You can also get, if you want to get the add-on, you can get the travel bag. This is the upgrade set, which is beautiful. A Harry's travel bag to go with your Harry's razor. I'm telling you, Harry's is great. They make their own blades at their own factory in Germany, designed for performance and for price, of course, because they want to bring you a shave at a much better cost, about half the cost of the drugstore blades. You know that. Whenever they lock up something at the drugstore, it's because it's overpriced. It's too valuable. Harrys.com, HARRYS.com. Fabulous place for your holiday shopping. Hanukkah's coming. You need 12 gifts. And they'll give you $5 off your first order. Use the offer code WINDOWS. Harrys.com. Oh, and by the way, free shipping for the holidays. That ends December 10th, so don't put this off. You only have another week to do your holiday shopping. But this makes it so easy. HARRYS.com. Free shipping, $5 off, a great range of choices for every man in your life. Harry's, a great shave at a fraction of the price. Harrys.com, and don't forget the offer code WINDOWS. We continue on with Windows Weekly, our back of the book segment. Paul Thurrott and his tip of the week.
I also prefer the plastic handle.
Do you?
Yeah. I
Steve
like
says
the
it's
military green color.
Yeah, you get into colors, and he says it's got a flat side, so he always knows which side's up.
Yep, I like it.
Doesn't matter. I have both. I like the look of this copper one, though. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so I have some tips, but first I have sort of a self-serving tip, which is that if you're in the Boston area, I'm performing a PC study group next Friday and Saturday, all day long at the Dedham Hilton, and we need people to come by.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What do you do?
Well, it's basically, I can't really tell everyone exactly what it is right now, but it's basically comparing PCs side by side. It's going to take about 40 minutes. So we have like hour-long slots throughout the day, each day. There are going to be prizes, like we're giving away an Xbox One Halo 5 edition and a Dell XPS 13 laptop.
Is this sponsored?
It is sponsored.
Who's sponsoring it?
I can't say right now, but it will be revealed to participants when they participate.
Oh, and so maybe this is like a little focus groupy kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a focus group.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so everyone who participates is going to get a gift card of some kind. I think it's going to be local stuff like restaurants like Summer Shack or Dunkin' Donuts or CVS, that kind of thing. But I haven't settled on that. If you can come on Friday, it's actually going to be a $25 gift certificate, because I know Fridays are tough because it's a work day for a lot of people. And then people come on Saturday, we'll get a $15 gift card. But the big thing here is, obviously, people who listen to the show are fairly technical. You're welcome to come. We want you to come. But if you have a spouse or partner or children who are not as technical, please bring them as well. We'd like to have kind of a diverse group of people. So anyway, if you're interested in this, I'm going to post something about it tonight, but you can email me at paul@thurrott.com. Come on down. Oh, and I should say also, this won't be of interest to normal people, but I'll also be giving people a copy of my free ebook, or my non-free ebook for free, the Windows 10 Field Guide. So
nice.
You can have that as well.
And is this going to be one of those focus groups where they take your cell phone and put it in a wood chipper? You're not going to do that, are you?
No, nothing like that. Okay. No, it's actually pretty fun. I think it's a neat thing. I think people are going to enjoy it. It should be a good time, and definitely worth doing.
I think that sounds fun. Neat.
Yeah. All right, so actual tip, Microsoft, of course, has the Games for Gold for Xbox, so it's December 2nd, so the new round has started. This month, there are actually 5 games, and I would just remind people that if you have an Xbox One, because of backwards compatibility, you can now run all of the Xbox 360 games that are given away through this promotion as well. So you actually get 5 games this month if you're an Xbox One owner. Also, because it's the holidays, and the 10 days of deals is over, but now Microsoft is having 12 days of deals. And it's not always hardware, but the first couple are hardware. Today's deal is for an IdeaPad laptop. It's $200, normally $349. Yesterday it was I think it was a 2-in-1 HP Pavilion X360. I think it was about $200 off as well. And then Windows, let me see if I can find this. Windows Central has gotten a leak where they know what the next couple of deals are going to be. So tomorrow it's 2 free games with select Xbox One console purchases. The day after that is the Dell Inspiron 15 for $500, or you can save $200 in a Surface Pro 3 i3 version, and it kind of goes from there. So there'll be 12 days altogether because 12 days of Christmas and whatnot. So you can find this stuff at the Microsoft Store. I think this is U.S. only. It could be U.S. and Canada, but I believe it's U.S. only. So if you live in Europe or elsewhere, I apologize. And then for software pick, I might have done this pick in the past, but talking about moving between phones, it's interesting. I use the same mail app essentially on each platform. I use the Outlook mail app, which I really like. But there are different apps, where it's a little different on each platform. And one thing I've really found that's excellent is a podcast app called Pocket Casts. Oh, yeah, this came up recently because someone asked me about podcasting on the Windows Phone, and the built-in podcast app on Windows 10 Mobile is the Windows Phone version. It's never been updated. It's kind of garbagey. This app is fantastic. It's consistent across platforms. You sign in with your account, everything syncs, so all of the things you subscribe to appear on that device, and you just go from there. The only downside to it is that it's not a free app, so you do have to pay for it. I think it's $5 or $6. It's well worth it if you listen to a lot of podcasts like I do. I actually own this on every one of the platforms and use it on every one of my phones. This is my preferred podcast.
Me too.
Podcaster, as they say.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Love it.
And then just as a sort of aside, I guess this is sort of a hardware pick. I reviewed this device this week called the InFocus Kangaroo PC. It's a little slab of a device. It's got a dock on the end that adds expandability, USB ports, HDMI, micro SD is built into the device itself, power and so forth. And, $99 Atom computer. And you're like, well, why does the world need another $99 Atom computer? Actually, this one has 3-ish things I think that are kind of special about it. One is it has a battery in it, so it's good for about 4 hours. You're not going to use it like a laptop, but what that means is if you have multiple docks, you can move it from dock to dock and not lose what you're doing. You don't have to power it down. That's kind of cool. It has software that you can install on the device and on an iPad. Use the iPad as a screen and as a touch screen for typing and for moving the mouse around with your finger. So that means this thing combined with an iPad is in fact a real portable computer. And that's actually really awesome. The other thing that's just is crazy at this price point, but this thing has a fingerprint reader on it and it's Windows Hello compatible. So you can actually, it's not even a swipe one, it's a touch like you have on like an iPhone or whatever. So you can actually touch this thing to sign into Windows 10 on the device. And that can be a real convenience because if you're going to use this as a living room computer or in some kind of awkward situation, rather than having to type on maybe the glass screen of your iPad or find a keyboard and connect it, you can actually get into the system without having to connect anything to it. It's just right on the device itself. And so when you kind of add all this stuff up, Atom computer, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of eMMC storage with micro SD expandability, 2 USB ports, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and full-size HDMI. 4 hours of battery life. It's like this crazy collection of stuff, and it's $99. So if you have a need for this kind of thing, you should definitely check this out. I think this is a much better deal than like an Intel Compute Stick or whatever those stick type of computers
Probably
are.
faster too, right?
Yeah, it's a cool little device, and it's literally a cool. Well, actually, it's pretty warm, but it doesn't blow fan noise all over the place. It's really nice.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that you get with it just makes no sense. They didn't have to. They didn't really have to do all that stuff, but it's cool.
And is it the same in Focus that does the projectors? Don't they do like?
Oh, that's interesting. That could be.
If it's them, I think it is.
It almost makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense because this would work great with a PowerPoint.
I mean, on the surface, it just looks like a goofy little stick computer, and like, kind of limited use, whatever. But when you look closer at it, it's like, actually, this thing is awesome. It's really neat.
This would partner up with their projectors to make a pretty cool.
Yeah, you can just mount it on the back of a screen or whatever.
Looks like they make a Surface. Or what? I'm sorry. What do you call it?
Like a Surface
Pixel Perfect
hub type thing.
Yeah, Surface Hub kind of thing. 70-inch Mondo pad, they call it.
Sure.
I want a Mondo pad.
It's a big ass pad.
It's Mondo. All right, the Kangaroo PC. It's at Newegg, $99, and now the Enterprise pick of the week.
It does come with the dock.
Comes with the dock.
Oh wow! I'm gonna do a breaking news pick, and then I'll do my regular pick.
Oh.
The breaking news enterprise pick is Windows Central just posted that Microsoft has finally got a fix for the display driver crashing error for Skylake-based machines like the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book. And it's now available on Windows Update. So if you're one of those people
I
who
just did an update. I didn't see it yet. So
yeah, it looks like it might have just hit Windows Update.
Checking it now.
So if you're one of those people who've been getting display appears to hang.
Yep.
I'm literally installing this now.
Yeah, me too. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's there now.
And by the way, not to beat it to death, but I mean, this is the type of thing I'm talking about. You turn this thing on, and here's
I know, I have that
the
too.
lock
It's
screen is in
frozen.
full screen, and it's like, guys, seriously.
Yeah, it didn't get all the way out.
Like the premier Windows 10 device,
Yeah. So go get it if you're having that, which everyone seems to be having.
which you would,
Yeah. My regular
Yeah,
enterprise
it's
pick.
a system hardware update. That's what it's labeled
is
as.
that how it's listed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The regular enterprise pick today is about Microsoft Azure. And Microsoft has added an 8th Linux distribution to the list of ones that are supported on Azure. The latest one to be brought over is Debian GNU Linux. So now you have, if you're someone who needs to use Linux on Azure, you have a lot of choices. You have Ubuntu, CentOS, CoreOS, the new Debian GNU Linux, Oracle Linux, SUSE Linux, Enterprise, OpenSUSE, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, but Microsoft is partnering up with various companies and in some cases doing this on their own and actually making this a supported distribution, which means the images are available in the Azure Marketplace, and Microsoft does provide some support either directly or in the case of Debian through another company. The company that they're working with on Debian is called Creditive, Credativ. So Creditive is the one backing up the Debian support for Debian 7 and Debian 8. I love the code names for Debian. Debian 7, codename Wheezy. Debian 8, codename Jessie. So if you need the Debian distro, now you can get that on Azure. So
My
that's
favorite
the
distro.
enterprise.
Yep.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's the basis for Ubuntu. So a lot of people are using Debian and not kind of even knowing it. It's a little more. It's very secure, very solid. It's a really good distro. Yeah.
Nice.
Good. Code name.
Yeah, good code name this week. Barcelona is the code name this week. Barcelona seems to be the code name for containers coming to Windows 10 client. So we already knew Microsoft was going to build containers into Windows Server 2016. They actually have two different types of containers they're building in, Windows Server containers and Hyper-V containers. But on Windows Client, we didn't know they were going to have containers. There's a Microsoft job posting, though, found by our friend, the Walking Cat, who's so good at finding these things. And he discovered this job post where it talks all about looking for somebody to be a senior program manager in operating systems who will help develop the end-to-end container scenarios for Windows Client. And then the job post goes on to talk about why you might want containers in the client. And they mentioned things like security scenarios and networking and app isolation. There's a lot of different reasons you could want this. And I posted about this today on my site, and people are already saying, wow, when can I get this? I'm dying for this. It would be, I think, a version of Hyper-V Container for Windows 10. That's how I guess it would show up, but I don't know that for a fact. People are asking me when. I don't know if it'll be timed to coincide with the containers that are happening on Windows Server, which would mean the end of next year, because Windows Server 2016 is coming out in the latter half of 2016. I'm thinking it might be later than that, though, since they're only now recruiting for people to join this team to bring containers to client. But anyway, I believe from my sources that the code name for that is Barcelona. So if anybody knows anything about Barcelona or containers coming to Windows 10, I'm all ears. Bring the information over.
And finally, it's time for beer.
Yep, beer. I had to pick this one because this is a beer that comes out around this time every year. Goose Island Bourbon County Stout is the beer pick. They come out with various versions, and they name them by year. So the one that has just come out over the Thanksgiving holiday is the 2015 version. If you've never had this, it's really, really high alcohol, 14.2%.
Yow.
Yeah, it's not a beer it's not sessionable, as we like to say on Windows Weekly. It's a stout aged in Jim Beam barrels.
Ooh.
It's really good. It tastes kind of like cherries and dried fruits and almost like a port in beer form in a way. But yeah, because of that 14.2%, I would say tread with caution. I think people know this, but Anheuser-Busch bought Goose Island a couple of years ago. But they still continue to brew this particular beer, the Bourbon County Stout, in the Goose Island facilities. And it's not really a Bud thing, even though they own them. So if you're saying it's not a real craft beer because Anheuser-Busch owns them, I would disagree. Okay. That's your beer pick.
If that's what you say, then that's what I say.
All right.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's your Windows Weekly for the week of whatever the hell this week is, the first week of December. Can you believe we're in December?
It's like opening the Surface Book in a dark room is like opening the Ark of the Covenant. Like a spot. Look at it. It's like more.
Glowing.
I'm downloading 64%. It must be a big file, this software or system.
Oh, you know what else I forgot to mention, and we should bring this up too. We're going to be broadcasting Windows Weekly live from the store in New York City, the Microsoft flagship store, on December 16th. Yep, not next week, but the week after. And so we're going to have a very limited live audience that they're allowing us to have, about 25 or so people. So Paul and I are still working out how to get a list together. But if you really want to come, make sure you tweet to us or email us so that we can get you on the list.
Okay. At Mary Jo Foley and at Thurrott would be the two.
Mostly at Mary Jo Foley.
Tweet at Mary Jo Foley.
Well, you have to be available 2 to 4, and there's no other time we can do it. And we're doing it on the regular time.
Okay.
So I think that'll limit the number of people who can come.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's going to be fun, though. We're gonna be in the store, like on the second floor, where they have the big screens, and we're going to display us on the big screens and stuff.
Are we going to assault the Apple Store while we're there?
Yeah, we could go over and sing some Christmas carols at the end. How about that?
You should do
that would be an insult.
And people are wanting to know if you ever going to do a beer focus group, Mary Jo Foley.
I know, I should.
You should.
Well, I don't know. What are you guys doing on your New Year's show? Are we going to do a beer
We're not doing New Year's. I'm going to be on
You're
a
not
boat.
doing a New Year's show? Oh.
Don't be sad.
Well, you'll be free at least.
Yeah. I should ask Lisa again because I shouldn't have asked her like in January. But she said
What are you doing?
it's too hard on the staff because
know,
they work
it is.
really hard, and then there's CES. But see, and then I asked the staff, they go, "What do you mean? We love doing it." But she says they're lying to you, so I don't know who to believe.
Sure.
I think she might mean it's too hard on her. She said, "You can do it, but I'll be on a boat." So I decided.
Leo, who's going to shave my head if I don't come
I
soon?
know. No, I think you know what I think really. The fact that I got the tattoo and shaved my head last year on the New Year's Eve show kind of is part of this. Anyway, so we're going on a cruise that week.
Wow.
In fact,
you
we're
are,
going to
wow.
do a Best of Windows Weekly that week. So if you'd like to help us with that, twit.tv/best of for any of our shows. We're looking for your favorite moments from 2015 so we can do a little fun compilation and give you something fresh for that week. And then, of course, we'll be back in the new year. We're going to be back next week. I mean, I'm not...
Right.
I'm not closing this thing out. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC. You can watch live, be in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. You could also get it after the fact. twit.tv/WW, youtube.com/Windows Weekly, wherever you get your podcasts, including, yeah, of course, Pocket Cast. You go, it's right there. Paul, I just ordered that little computer.
The Kangaroo.
You did?
Kangaroo.
Yeah.
Well, you know why?
It's
Sounded
really
cool.
cool.
I love the idea that finally I can do something with my iPad Pro.
I have been sort of confronting the fact that these low-end computers, if they just had 4 gigs of RAM, I could probably just use one.
That's all. I bet you.
As my computer.
Now, you've used this, so you know what the...
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. Just put a little
just
more
a little,
oomph. A little more
Yeah.
oomph.
Yep, just a little.
That's awesome.
My wife uses an HP Stream 11 at a standing desk as her second computer.
Right.
She loves it.
Right.
I tried to replace it with a Surface, and she was like, "No, I love the way the keyboard works on this
Yeah.
thing."
Well, I am going to use it with my iPad because I think that's kind of an intriguing thought.
Yeah,
that you
it's
have the
really
touch,
neat.
You have the
Yeah,
all of that.
it
All right.
works great.
We will take a little time out for a week. Come back in a week with another episode of Windows Weekly. Please join us, won't you? Paul Thurrott's at thurrott.com. You can see him all the time. THURROTT.com. Mary Jo Foley at allaboutmicrosoft.com. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.